Hello everybody, this is me Arpita Pal, your educator, and today we will be discussing about civil disobedience movement and the round table conference. I hope you all know that there were 3 roundtable conferences. We will discuss about it. We have already discussed about the non-cooperation movement and many more such movements in the previous lessons. I hope you have gone through them. In this lesson or in the course in which we are revising modern Indian history, today we will be discussing about civil disobedience movement and the roundtable conferences. So let's begin. But again, there is an important announcement. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel Arpita Sharma Classes to have the daily Hindu news analysis and analysis of important international organizations, strategy classes for UPSC, CSE, polity classes, important Indian polity topics classes, economics classes, economics MCQ series, and many more. You can press the bell icon and never miss an update. Also, Arpita Sharma ma'am is taking live plus courses on Unacademy Plus platform. So you can use the code Sharma20 and get 10% discount. Let's begin. Now, where did the civil disobedience movement, or what was the background of civil disobedience movement, that we have to discuss first. That what were the situations or what were the circumstances that led to the civil disobedience movement or the launch of the civil disobedience movement. So what happened at the Calcutta session of Congress in December 1928, Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose, they demanded Purna Swaraj. In the previous lesson, we have already discussed about that who among the following were the ones who were demanding Purna Swaraj or who were demanding dominion status. Whereas in the Congress itself, there were older leaders or elder leaders who wanted dominion status for India. Why? Because they thought that okay, Purna Swaraj is basically a very far-sought dream, so we cannot achieve it in a day or two or in a very less time. So they or the older leaders, they believed that only dominion status can be beneficial for India. Demand of Purna Swaraj is a bit vague at the moment. Whereas the new generation or the ones like Nehru and Bose, they wanted or they demanded Purna Swaraj. Now, also, the condition was kept that if demand of Purna Swaraj was not met, then civil disobedience movement was to be launched. Okay, so now this was decided in the Congress, in the Calcutta session of Congress, that in case demand of Purna Swaraj is not met, then the civil disobedience will be launched. That was for sure. Then what happened during 1929? Mahatma Gandhi travelled throughout the India because he wanted to arouse people of the national movement for the national movement. Also, he urged people to boycott the foreign cloth by an aggressive program. So now by this time, Mahatma Gandhi wanted that okay, now we should start boycotting the foreign cloth, the foreign things, and we should be or it should be an aggressive program. Also, the Foreign Cloth Working Committee, which was organized by Congress Working Committee. So Congress Working Committee or the CWC had also organized the Foreign Cloth Working Committee, which also believed in boycotting the foreign cloth. What were the events that fueled the fire, or what were the events that led to the fueling of this political activity during 1929? Firstly, the Meerut conspiracy case, in which I hope you have read about the Meerut conspiracy case in which Chapekar brothers were convicted. Then in the bomb explosion in Central Legislative Assembly, who you have to mention in the comment section that who had thrown or who threw the bomb in the Central Legislative Assembly. Just pause the video and mention it in the comment section. Now, the answer to this is that Bhagat Singh and Batukeshwar Dutt or BK Dutt in April, they basically threw this bomb in Central Legislative Assembly because they wanted the deaf to hear. Their motive was not to kill people, to kill the British people, but they wanted to make the hear deaf. They wanted to make people understand that now Indians are standing up for their own rights and that the Britishers will have to listen to them. Also, the Labour government, which was led by Ramsay MacDonald, was in England. So there was a change in the government. The Labour government came to power, which was led by Ramsay MacDonald, and Wedgwood Ben became the Secretary of State for India. So these were the political activities that made the background for civil disobedience movement. Then Lord Irwin, who was the Viceroy of India at that time, what did he say? That on October 31, 1929, Irwin declared the dominion status of India. It was promised by Irwin that India will be given the dominion status. Now, this was neither a very new thing or nor revolutionary, because already in previous reports or in previous discussions, this was almost finalized that India will be given dominion status. But but one condition was that round table conferences were to be held now. So Irwin said, or Lord Irwin said, that now okay, India will be given dominion status, but there will be round table conferences. Now who will be asked to attend these conferences was a question, or was still a question, which we will discuss later. Then what happened? Delhi Manifesto was given. In Delhi Manifesto, the conditions for attending round table conferences were laid down. Okay, so on November 2nd, 1929, people accepted the dominion status, or the immediate acceptance of dominion status was given, but it was also said that majority or the representation or a major part of representation to Congress will be in round table conferences. So it was asked that Congress will have to attend the round table conferences. Also, the political, what was the Congress's stand? It wanted that the political prisoners who have been arrested and are kept in prison should be forgiven, and all the disagreements between the government and the political prisoners should be now ended. But these demands were not accepted by Lord Irwin. He said that no, I will not accept these demands, because these demands were put by congressmen, or was put by the people of India or the Congress Working Committee, like the immediate acceptance of dominion status. Okay, we will accept the dominion status, but only on the condition that in the round table conferences Congress will be in majority. Also, the political prisoners should be freed, and all the disagreements and all the quarrels should be ended between the two. But all these demands were rejected by Irwin. Then came one of the most important sessions of Congress, the Lahore session, or the Lahore session of the Congress, and the demand for Purna Swaraj, which was held in December 1929. This session was presided by Jawaharlal Nehru, and here it was decided that round table conferences will be boycotted. Also, what will be now the aim of Congress? Complete independence, or Purna Swaraj. Right. So Purna Swaraj was decided as the ultimate aim of Congress in the Lahore session of Congress. Also, they decided that now a civil disobedience movement will be launched. And finally, on December 31, 1929, a tricolour was hoisted by Jawaharlal Nehru on the banks of river Ravi, and the slogan was given as Inqilab Zindabad. Finally, it was decided that on January 26, 1930, first Independence Day of India will be celebrated. Now, these are all very important facts. Please remember it. Please, I hope you remember it. So, it will be very important from prelims point of view. Then what happened? Mahatma Gandhi demanded 11 things, or he had given a set of 11 demands. Like in the previous lesson, we have discussed about the 14-point agenda of Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Similarly, Mahatma Gandhi demanded 11 things, or he asked for 11 demands. And in case if these are not met, then salt satyagraha will be initiated. Finally, which led to the Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Now, what are these? We will discuss in detail. Now, what were the general issues which led to this whole background of the civil disobedience movement? See, firstly, the postal reservation bill, or the release of political prisoners, which was demanded by Congress Working Committee or the Congress. Then also what was demanded? These are the some points of the 11 demands, right? We are discussing about the 11 demands by Mahatma Gandhi. Or I should mention it right here. Okay, so firstly we are discussing the general issues. What were the general issues? Like postal reservation bill should be there, then political prisoners should be removed, then there should be a reduction in expenditure of civil services and the army, that should be reduced by 50%. Also CID, Arms Act and total prohibition should be done. Then what were the peasants' demand or from the point of view of peasants? Land revenue should be reduced by 50%, and also the government monopoly on salt should be abolished. Why? What was important about this? That salt was a very major commodity in one's food. It's a very important commodity in one's food. Any food without salt is just tasteless. So salt is a very important commodity, and the British government had its monopoly over salt. So even the most poor person was unable to afford salt, which is a very important commodity of food, or which is a very important part or very important ingredient in Indian food. So what was the demand? That at least on salt the government monopoly should be abolished, which is a very important ingredient in food. See, this is the answer. Why salt? It is an important commodity. Also, it has a psychological importance. If you have seen in Indian households, in our households, we respect salt and we respect food a lot. Also, we are not asked to play with salt. This is a very funny, very in our daily lives as well. Our parents ask us not to play with salt because it is a very important and respected ingredient in our food. Also, also salt is affordable to every section, so that is why all the monopoly on salt should be abolished by the government. Then began the Dandi March, the most famous march. On 12th March 1930 to 6th April 1930, Dandi March continued. It was started by Mahatma Gandhi from Sabarmati Ashram, from his Sabarmati Ashram, where he was followed by his 78 followers. And finally, they moved, or they marched from Sabarmati to Dandi, and salt was broken on the coast of Dandi. Finally, this led to the beginning of the civil disobedience movement. Now, how did this salt law disobedience spread to other parts of the country? For example, Madras, Karachi, Calcutta, there was also salt law was broken. Then what happened, that there were some violation of forest laws as well. Then no Chowkidar tax campaign also started in the other parts of India. Non-payment of revenue also started. And finally, on 4th May 1930, Mahatma Gandhi was arrested. So the salt law or the breaking up of salt law led to various other revolutions throughout the country as well. Similarly, at Tamil Nadu, the movement was led by C. Rajagopalachari. At Malabar, K. Kelappan Nayyar started the Viacom Satyagraha. At Andhra Pradesh, Sibirams or the military style camps were organized. This is important keyword, do remember it. What was Sibirams? They were the military style camps which were organized in Andhra. In Odisha, the movement was led by Gopal Bandhu Chaudhary, and at Assam, Chandraprabha Saikyani led the movement. Do remember these names. Finally, at Bihar, Bengal and other places, such movements were organized which led to the unification of the people of India. So ultimately, this salt disobedience movement or the salt law disobedience led to the unification of the people throughout the country, for which almost prepared the people of India for a nationwide movement. So this led to mass participation because women also participated, students, they also participated who boycotted schools and wanted to enroll in national schools. Muslims were also a part of the movement, merchants and traders, tribals, workers, peasants, all of these people or all sections of the community participated in this movement. Now, what was the government's response to the movement? Finally, in July 1930, Round Table Conference was suggested. Now, there was a possibility of peace between Congress and the government because it was the idea of Tej Bahadur Sapru and M.R. Jaikar. Finally, their suggestion was accepted that Congress and government should maintain peace as per, or the idea was given by Tej Bahadur Sapru and M.R. Jaikar, and finally the suggestion was accepted. Now what happened, that Jawaharlal Nehru and Mahatma Gandhi, they had collective demands. What were the demands? The right of secession from Britain, national government with control over defense and finance, and independent tribunal. These were the important demands by Nehru and Gandhi before the government. Then finally Gandhi-Irwin Pact was signed. This is very important. So Gandhi-Irwin Pact, what did it say? On January 25, 1931, as per the Gandhi-Irwin Pact, Mahatma Gandhi was released and other Congress Working Committee members were also released. Finally, on February 14, 1931, Delhi Pact was signed, which was also known as the Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Now, what were the demands rejected by Irwin in the Gandhi-Irwin Pact? Firstly, public inquiry into police excesses was demanded, which was rejected by Irwin. We all know that Bhagat Singh and his fellows were sentenced to death penalty. But Mahatma Gandhi urged Lord Irwin to commute their sentences to life imprisonment, but this demand was rejected by Lord Irwin. And participation in next round table conference on different conditions, this was also rejected. Then, now we have already discussed about non-cooperation movement in the previous lessons. If you have not understood or if you have not read or not gone through the lesson, I would suggest you to just go through the lesson once so that you will be able to understand it in a better way. So, in non-cooperation movement and civil disobedience movement, there were some differences. For example, non-cooperation movement was against specific wrongs like the Khilafat and Swaraj. Okay, they were the demand during the non-cooperation movement. Whereas during the civil disobedience movement, the aim was complete independence or Purna Swaraj. Similarly, in non-cooperation movement, they were just non-cooperating with the foreign rule. They were not cooperating with the foreign rule. That was the only way of participating. Whereas there was also a lesser participation. Congress were weaker at this time. Also, the imprisonments were quite less, because see, people participated or the masses did not participate, so less number of people were arrested as well. Whereas during the civil disobedience movement, there was a large section of Muslims and peasant community that participated. The Congress was stronger at this time, and more revolutionaries were imprisoned during the civil disobedience movement. So these are some of the basic differences between the two. Then came the round table conferences. Firstly, first roundtable conference, which took place between November 30 to January 1931, Congress refused to attend the first roundtable conference. But there were some other groups which participated in the same, such as Hindu Mahasabha, Muslim League, Indian Princely States, Justice Party, Sikhs, Parsis, women, liberals, Anglo-Indians and Indian Christians. They all participated. You do not have to remember the leader of every group. Just remember that, okay, B.R. Ambedkar was from the depressed classes, or Justice Party. So just remember few names, not all the names. Now, an important part of the first roundtable conference was the outcome. Finally, it was decided that India should be developed as a federation, and British government realized that, okay, if Congress is not attending the roundtable conference, then it is a massive setback for the British government, because Congress represents the masses. Congress had the faith of the masses in it. So British government needed that, okay, Indian National Congress should participate in roundtable conference, otherwise we won't be able to win the trust of Indians. Then came the second roundtable conference between September 1931 to December 1931. In this roundtable conference, Indian National Congress participated and was represented by Mahatma Gandhi along with Madan Mohan Malviya and A.R. Iyer. What were the features? The demand of separate electorates was made, or the Minority Pact was made. Lord Irwin was replaced by Lord Wellington as the Viceroy during this roundtable conference, and the outcome was that Muslim majority provinces like the Northwest Frontier Province, Sindh, and in these provinces an Indian consultative was set up. Also, there was a prospect of communal award. Communal award was basically an award which was given to the people of depressed classes, or sort of reservation to the people of depressed classes, to create a rift between the upper and the lower caste in the country, which was initiated by the British government. Then came the third roundtable conference between November 1932 to December 1932. Now, third roundtable conference was neither attended by INC nor others. The features were that recommendations were laid down on a white paper, and a joint parliamentary committee was set up for a new act, or to make the framework of a new act for India. The outcome was that the Government of India Act 1935 was enforced after the third roundtable conference. Now, what were the changes, or what was the impact of the roundtable conferences and Congress's stand on the roundtable conference? The government's attitude changed after roundtable conference. Now, repressive ordinances were issued, and Gandhi ashrams were also occupied, because now the government became repressive. They wanted to suppress the movement. So what did they do? They started imprisoning the revolutionaries. Gandhi ashrams were occupied, from where the most of the activities were started. And so women were suppressed harshly. Also, what happened then? Finally, after all the government's response and all the events, civil disobedience movement was called off in the year April 1934. But a result was that Congress had won the faith of the people. So people realized that Congress was the one which can lead to, which can lead the people of India, lead the masses of India, and hence independence can be achieved. This was at least thought by the people of India. So I hope you have understood everything, whatever has been taught. In case of any query, do mention it in the comment section. Also, do let us know how can we improve the videos in case you are not liking something. Thank you.